Okay, I started recording.
Greetings, everyone. This is our first meeting for this fiscal year, and good evening again. My name is Berlotte Antoine. I'm the chair for the Parks and Beautification Committee. I'm excited to be here. This is our first meeting for this fiscal year, and we are here and excited. I hope that you all received the agenda and the minutes for the previous meeting. So now it's 7:35. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I will start by asking you again, if you have the agenda, you can pull it up so we can follow together. But as we are going along, I will definitely tell you which item we are about to discuss. As you can see, I asked Ms. German to start prepping for the presentation because we'll have a nice presentation today. Before that, I will ask you to introduce yourself. I will call you. You will give your name, whether or not you are a board member, and one thing about your feeling today. So my name is Berlotte Antoine. I am a board member and the chair of the Park and Beautification Committee. My one word, my one word is happy. I will pass it on to Miss Adele.
Well, good evening all again. And my name is Adele Bennett. I'm a committee member for the Parks and Beautification for CD17. And my one word is alive.
Thank you. I will pass it on to Miss Turner. Miss Turner, good evening.
Yes. Good evening, all. My name is Linda Turner. I'm a committee member, and let's see. My word for the evening is disgruntled.
I will pass it on now to Ms. Da Costa. Good evening.
Good evening. This is Brita Costa. I am a committee member, and my word for the evening is exhausted.
I can imagine. Good evening, Miss Trisha. Good evening. You can state your name, whether or not you are a committee member, and one word that describes your feeling for tonight.
Good evening. I'm a committee member. I'm learning about being a co-chair for this committee, and one word, curious.
All right, thank you. I can go. I have Miss Grant here. Miss Grant, you want to introduce yourself and say one word that describes your feeling for tonight?
Hi, Ms. Berlotte. Yeah, Grant Ewan from the Department of Design and Construction. I'm here with the rest of the city agencies and Vanessa. Thank you so much for having us. And my one word would be I'm excited.
Thank you, thank you. I will pass it on now to Vanessa. Miss Vanessa, your turn now.
Greetings. So good to be here with you, disgruntled, loving, exhausted, hopeful, excited, happy people. I'm Vanessa German. My word is grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Because my screen is a little bit small. Give me few people. Did I miss anyone? If I did miss you, you can just jump in.
Hey, Berlotte, good evening. This is Ricky DaCosta, community board member, and my word for the day is joyful.
Thank you. And I see Jennifer. Let me see if I can pronounce the last name. Zas. Good evening.
Very good. I'm Jennifer Lances. I'm the Deputy Director of Art and Antiquities for the Parks Department, working with the city team with Vanessa. And my word is thankful. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome. So I will go to the presentation after. I can do my report. I don't know if any members have any objection with that. Please raise your hand and let me know because I wanted to go to the presentation and then move forward with my report. Any objection?
No.
All right, so thank you. So now I will pass it on to Miss Vanessa for the presentation. So the presentation tonight will be about the Shirley Chisholm, which we are all excited about all the time, but we always want to know more about what is happening, the art, the project, and what is happening. So I will give it to you to provide a brief intro of the agency that you represent and then the project that you're about to present. So you have the mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this time and opportunity to share with you all. I'm Vanessa. I am the Percent for Art artist for the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center in East Flatbush. I did do a full presentation before this board in November, on November 14th of 2023, that was scheduled by Department of Cultural Affairs. I'm going to share with you what's happening this week with the project and really look forward to any questions or comments that you have about where we are right now in the project. And I'm going to focus it on the community engagement portion of the project. So I'm going to share my screen right now and go through and introduce the project to you with some images. Give me one moment, please.
Okay, thank you. So what I will ask you, if you have questions, you can have your questions somewhere. So after the presentation, there will be space for Q&A. So I know that some of you will have questions after the presentation as well. There will still be opportunity to send the questions, and I can still forward them to Ms. Vanessa. So thank you.
Thank you. Could you please confirm for me that you can see my screen share?
I can. It's a little small, but I can. Yes.
Oh, it's
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine.
All right, so the project that I have proposed for the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center is an entire museum called the Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder. It will inhabit both the interior and the exterior of the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. We're thinking about recreation not only as activities for the physical body, but as activities that inspire the heart and engage the spirit and really contribute to a sense of wholeness of being. So the image that we have on the screen just shows some engagement that I have done in other projects, and it will show you sort of how we go from engagement on the street to art object that exists. The Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder will be a communal, co-created museum, which means the citizens of East Flatbush are the heart and the soul and the complete creative engine of this museum, which means we're creating for the voices and the stories and the dreams of the residents of this neighborhood. So this is an opportunity to honor how they show up in their lives, but also the places that make their community really home. So I am considering myself a creative facilitator in this project. And this image, what you see here is Norma Avery, who is one of the students who integrated after Brown v. Board in Topeka, Kansas. She was one of the 7-year-olds who first integrated the white school. You can see here that I'm tracing her hand. From that hand tracing, we blew that up and created a 3-foot tall rose quartz sculpture of her hand. The little hand on top is actually her granddaughter's hand. So we took her story and then blended it together with her granddaughter, thinking about the future. So what does it mean for the public to be the central engine of public art? So this just goes through some of what I just said. And I think it's really important for people to know that all participation in whether it is hands-on creating, because there are opportunities for residents to make art that will go into this museum, and to also to contribute stories and voices that become artworks, and it's all free. And we want to reduce as many obstacles as possible to people engaging in this process. So I will be on the ground this week, beginning a soft launch of the residency at Nostrand Playground on Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m., sort of the hour before school gets out and the hour after school gets out. This will be a lot of times the first time that people will have heard of the Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder, and the first time they'll see me physically on the ground in Brooklyn. I got to New York this morning at 9 o'clock. So I'm here and I will be engaging in this on the ground residency until December of 2024. And if some of you remember from the earlier presentation, I was scheduled to start this residency in May, and we've had some holdups. Some of you might know about that. And so I'm on the ground now and am really excited to meet people and talk to people. I recognize that I'm always super excited about this. So I'm glad that we have a soft launch. See, there's some of the questions that we will ask people that will hopefully inspire works of art that are really meaningful to them. Is there a local hero or legend you'd like to honor? This can be in the body or not in the body, living or dead. What are the places in your neighborhood? I'm really interested in the places where people feel most alive and are engaged in community that is meaningful to them, which is why the residency is on the ground. So I can actually see what's happening and see where people are where the neighborhood is really most vital in community. So some of the questions that we will engage in residencies, in the residency that will be in places where there are sort of a rhythm of community activities. So I'll be in locations like the library, farmers markets, art markets, and we are producing a calendar of where I will be on the ground doing this residency. There's been some sort of holdups with producing that, but everyone will have that. And I'm really interested in what are the places that you think would really be excited to engage in this? If you could let me know, especially the last question you see here. Are you a part of a creative community group that would like to do hands-on art making? So briefly, I'm going to go through some of the activations. And this is a real shorthand from the like 94 slides that we showed before. So thank you so much for your grace. We're activating inside and outside of the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. And the first object that people would see on the inside of the museum is about a 7-foot tall wrought iron gate. And this is just a sort of watercolor sketch that I did it. And the heart that you see at the center of this gate would be the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. The other bits of color would be those places in the neighborhood where life and vitality and community is coming together, where people are saying, we love this basketball court. We love, like, this is the corner where we listen to so-and-so play his saxophone. And where the center of this gate will actually act as a sort of map of the soul of the community. And all that gold that you see in the bottom is a series of custom brass locks that we will give to people in the community. They'll have the keys and we'll actually lock that on to the gate, similar to how you see sort of locks of love on bridges throughout the world. So this is a tiny version of locks of love just for people from the East Flatbush community. And the neighborhood gate is a sort of statement of welcome, a statement of acceptance and warmth as people enter into this new community center. Everything that is a part of the Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder in the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center will be housed in museum quality art cabinets, that some which are fully glass on both sides so that you can experience them from inside of the room and outside of the room. So one of these custom cabinets will be a cabinet of wonder, and these will be distinct objects that are brought through the voices of people of East Flatbush. And we don't really know what they are. We have to have conversations with people. It could be that we talk to somebody who everybody says is the best, makes the best jerk chicken in East Flatbush, and we would cast that person's hands and bronze them, and they would live forever in this cabinet of wonder as like the queen of jerk chicken, you know. But it just really depends on what comes through the people, how we honor them. But what you should know is that all the materials that we use will be conservation quality. So we're looking at bronze, we're looking at casting glass, we're looking at material that has a gravitas and then a long lifespan. So the Cabinet of Wonder would be on the 3rd floor of the Recreation Center. And then we have community quilt cabinets. We don't have images of this because this is the 2 hands-on art making activities. I would really love to engage a senior community, a community of elders at a location that perhaps has brick and mortar, where I can come in and bring the materials and we build relationship and learn the technique of making what is ostensibly a 3-dimensional tapestry that can bring in objects and elements of these people's lives that can actually become part of this quilt. But this is an opportunity that we really want to engage durational creation in the community. So if there are communities, if there are groups that you feel like would be excited about this, please let me know. The elders benches will be on the outside of the community center. These are 2 8-foot-long benches that will actually be made up of, it will be made of steel. We will be tracing the hands of elders 60 plus. I think 60 is really young. So I'm thinking, you know, if people want to call themselves elders at 60, that's fine. But we want to trace the hands of elders. Those will be plasma cut out of steel and crafted into a bench. That is called the Elders Bench, and I call it I've got your back. And so it's sort of saying that like we are supported by the voices and the wisdom of our elders, and they're sort of present on the outside of this community center in these beautiful steel benches that are made up of a community of these hand tracings that so each bench will have 40 to 50 individual hands of elders in the community. On the 2nd floor of the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center, we'll have something called a vessel for the future. A lot of my work is made, the work that I make are power figures. I'm making art to do something. I'm making art to be healing, medicinal, loving by dint of proximity to it. So vessel for the future will actually be all of the beads that you see in the example will actually be hand blown out of glass. And as I move through the community, we have little slips of paper that people can write their dreams for the future or what they want to see in their community. And that will, each one of those notes, handwritten by we have a total between 400 and 500 of these hand-blown glass vessels. Each voice, each note goes into a vessel and then it will populate a power figure. This is from a West African tradition of Nkisi, and that is where my lineage is from. This is 2nd floor, and that's about 8 feet tall. There's a portrait cabinet that will be 24 gemstone portraits of communities selected, community members whose names are brought forward by friends and neighbors. So 24 20-inch tall gemstone portraits. And the portrait that you see there is one that I actually did of a young man whose life was who was unalived by the police in Colorado, a young man named Elijah McClain. This is a portrait that I did of him out of rose quartz. Rose quartz is a healing stone. It's a stone that promotes love and compassion and empathy. So if I go to you, Mrs. Antoine, if I come to you and I say, who in your community would you like to see represented in this portrait cabinet? You would tell me about that person and tell me why you would want to see their portrait for 40 or 50 years or longer into the future. And I would choose the gemstones that represent those qualities. So for Shirley Chisholm, I would choose tiger's eye and obsidian. And so throughout the cabinet, there will be all these gemstones that speak to the character of the individuals in the portrait cabinet. And they're not going to have the name of the person. So they're all sort of the superlatives of the neighborhood: the chef, the gardener, the king of the jump shot, the best pound cake baker. Actually, not that long, but there'll be really simplified superlatives of these individuals in the cabinets. So this is just some of the questions that I'll ask, like I'll walk around, who makes the best pizza? Like where can I find the best jazz, and like really talking to people to find out whose names and whose spirits whose spirit is moving among the people in a way that resonates this like a sense of legacy. And I would make a portrait of them out of gemstone that goes into and I think about the sort of like Greek and Roman hall of portraits, hall of portraiture. It's similar to, has its sort of inspiration from there. In the basement of the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center, we have sort of some surprise artworks that will live in the lockers. So you'll walk by a bank of lockers and turn to the right, and what you'll see is an entire Brooklyn street scene in miniature, in glass, completely occupying a locker. And we'll have a street scene locker, and then we'll also have a locker that is the state flower of New York, which is the rose bush. So these are the activations that we'll have throughout the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. I would love to, if anyone has questions for us, we're soft launching residency this week on the ground, and it is, sorry, I'm stopped sharing, but we're starting soft launch on the ground this week in a way that is like a gentle introduction to the different activations, and offering people sort of some postcards and information that they can take away and share with other people to sort of move the word out about the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center's Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder through the people. So yeah, thank you so much for this time. And if anybody has any questions, or if there's time for questions, I would love to answer them.
Thank you for such a great presentation. I received some love for you on the chat. I know there is a question from Miss Williams. She wanted to know if you can post the details. Miss Williams, can you please clarify what type of details you would like to see? Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Vanessa, thank you so much. That was like amazing. I feel like you're gonna bring a lot of healing energy that the community needs, and that's that, that's the root of everything right now, and a lot of love and inspiration. What I meant by details, I was saying I happen to be off this week, and I would love if I can pop up to meet you, say hello, maybe walk in the community with you. I'm available. So that's what I meant.
Love that. Thank you so much. I will be at Nostrum Playground on Thursday. We get there at 1 p.m. to set up. We begin our engagement at 2 p.m. and conclude at 4 p.m. This is the hour as parents are showing up to pick up their children, and the hour after so we hope to have a good critical mass of people. And I would really, to be perfectly honest, it would deeply warm my heart to meet somebody from this committee to sort of be by my side for a little bit while I'm there. So I would love to meet you. Thursday, 2 o'clock, to 4 o'clock at Nostrand Playground. We get there to set up at 1 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jennifer, for placing that in the chat. Thank you.
I have a question while someone else is prep his or her question. You mentioned parents. Will you be engaging children as well in that project?
Yes, there is. There's actually an element that is very specific to children. But what I will say is I experience community with equanimity. So children's voices are as important as the elected officials' voices. They are as important as the elders' voices. You know, children have a pure spirit, so their voices are completely going to be a powerful engine of this project. So in addition to being able to answer, where are your favorite places? Where are your most magical places in your neighborhood? And us honoring that in the neighborhood map on in the actual children's space in the exterior upstairs of the recreation center, we will have something called the Children's Spirit House. And it's a small enough for children to enter, a steel powder coated little house that children can enter into and sort of play through. It doesn't, you know, it's not actually a house, but it is the shape of a house. And I'm sorry that it's not in the presentation. And the illustration that makes up the powder coating on that house will be given to us by children, right? So they'll probably draw it when they're 6 or 7 years old, but they're going to be able to enjoy it when they're 50, and they're going to be able to tell their kids, I did that when I was 6, and it'll still be beautiful at the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. And what I want to say is, like, we're documenting this whole process. So there will be times on the Instagram that I'll just photograph what one of the kids writes, like, what is your dream for your future in this neighborhood? And if they say, my dream is to open up a marshmallow factory, you know, that's valid. It's a valid dream. So I really honor children and hold us all in equanimity.
Yes, thank you. Miss Adele, you want to unmute?
What'd you say?
No, Miss Adele has a question. You want to unmute, Miss Adele? Unmute yourself, Miss Adele, and then you can ask.
Yes. I said, what about children of all ages from 5 to 99?
I feel like you're speaking about me. I am a child of all ages, you know, and I think that, you know, I would really love to meet a 99-year-old person who has the spirit of love and vitality that a 5-year-old has. I'm here for that. I support it. And yes, children of all ages. And yeah, no one gets left behind, y'all. Like, when we say public and citizens and residents, I'm walking around going everywhere.
Okay. Well, because as a child, I met Shirley Chisholm. I was very, very young, but I do remember her.
She would make a mark on you.
Oh, yes, my parents knew her. That's why I remember her. But what I do remember about her is that she always had those giant hats. Big brimmed hats. That as a child used to scare the heck out of me.
Thank you for sharing that.
But I would love to see in that exhibit. One of those big old hats.
I'm
Great,
making
great.
I'm making a portrait of Shirley Chisholm for the cabinet of portraits, and you have just really inspired me to recreate one of those enormous hats to be a part of your portrait.
Because that's one of the things I do remember as a child. I was very young, not very young anymore. I do remember that. And also, they're going to think of anything else because that woman was a progressive. She believed in moving forward as a community, as a people, for all people. That's one thing I remember.
Thank you, Miss Adele. I will ask if there is anyone else with question.
That's all I have to
Before
say.
I go, anyone else? Before I go with mine. You can just unmute yourself and ask your question if you have question for this presentation. But I wanted to know more about maintenance, because I know sometimes we have great projects, but maintenance is always something that people are talking about. I know that might not be something that you can answer, but
Wait,
I
what are
will.
you saying? Could you say it slower, please?
Yeah, I was concerned about maintenance of this
Maintenance.
beautiful,
Thank you.
yes, artwork and project that we are talking about now, because it seems beautiful and sophisticated at the same time. But I would love to know what's the plan for future to keep up the beautiful, artwork.
So all of the artwork lives in conservation quality museum cases. So it's special glass. But even if it wasn't, the materials that we are using are materials that endure. So all of the gemstones, like I work with a mining company, the rose quartz I use, they estimate is 100 million years old. It's not gonna fade. It's not going, the gems themselves are not gonna fade. Then we have wrought iron. So I have selected the material for these artworks for their conservation quality, which means it would take it would take something extreme to alter the artwork at all, right? But we have a care plan in place should the glass break on cabinets. We have a care plan in place should the glass break in a way that something happens to one of the objects. For me to have moved forward in this at all, like one of the things that is in the larger presentation, which we can share with you if you like, is a maintenance and care plan.
I'm also happy to jump in. This is Jennifer Lancis from the Parks Department, and I just wanted to introduce the fact, just because it's not known to many, is that the Park Department, we have a unit, the Art and Antiquities unit, and we actually have a conservator and several monuments technicians on staff. And once this piece enters into, our collection, it's our responsibility to maintain it in perpetuity. So we have all of our permanent artworks on Parkland on cycles of care, whether it is, just going on an annual basis to inspect, for example, all of Vanessa's works, or should, for example, one of the benches on the exterior, if there was a tag or any kind of graffiti, that's something that the Parks Department staff knows. They contact my team. We are specially trained to treat permanent artworks. So there will always be kind of a first line of defense and care for this work moving forward.
Thank you. Any questions for Vanessa, who is here waiting for our question? But in the meantime, let me ask you, how do you want Community Board 17 to support you in this project?
Well, thank you so much for asking that. I think of the most priority would be if you all personally know of organizations or groups that would be interested in a durational hands-on experience with me, like creating and making art together for the quilt cabinets. Do you know of a community group who has space, who would be excited about this kind of free art programming in their community that becomes part of a museum that will have a long legacy? So that's, I think, the highest priority, because if I do not find 2 community groups who are interested in this durational hands-on art making activity, then I will be hosting them at a library or a public space on a kind of, like I would ask residents for commitment, like if you come one Saturday to come, for the whole time. And I would just be opening it broadly to the community, but I would really love to have a community of dedicated residents, children, senior citizens that I can have a long-term engagement with. And then we will communicate at when we have our schedule together, because this is my soft launch, and then we have a larger launch that will be coming in the future, and that will come with an entire community calendar of when and where the residency will be engaging with people on the ground. It's art markets, farmers markets. It might even be the workout, the Caribbean dance workout time in the park on Friday. It would be great if you would share that information. And I have the goal that I have a percentage in my head. I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want anybody to say it's crazy to think that you could, this percentage of your community could hear about this project. I don't want to be in a position when the ribbon is cut in this building next year for people to say, I had no idea this was happening. I had no idea there was going to be a museum. I had no idea there could have been a portrait. So what would be really helpful is if you just, wherever you can, if you could just talk it up and say this is happening, and then share that calendar so that it's as infectious as possible. And if people choose not to participate, it won't be because they didn't know about it. Because to me, it's like really heartbreaking to do big projects and you get there and people are hurt or mad that they just didn't know about it. So whatever we can do to fly the kite of the project through the community, however you can help that, whatever your ideas are, that's really what we need to not put to put ourselves in the position of triumph and not regret. We want triumph next year. So that's what I need you to do, is to just make sure it gets out.
Thank you. I want to recognize Mr. Roderick Daly, who is the chair of Community Board 17. I don't know, Mr. Daly, if you want to unmute yourself and greet Ms. Vanessa or ask a question. Mr. Daly, I recognize you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Chair Antoine and Co-Chair Louison. Thank you, Vanessa, for your participation in the artwork. So you're projecting open simultaneously with the museum, simultaneously with the project. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, and there is specific schedule for that. Like we have a schedule for when the cabinets are, before construction is complete, the cabinets have a schedule when will they'll be installed in the building and go through all of the finishing aspects of all parts of the building. And then we have a schedule for when we're moving the artwork into those cabinets. Yes. So when the ribbon is cut, the Museum of Love and Wonder is open as the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center is open. It is simultaneous, yes.
Okay, so one of my wondering is, I use it a lot, assistant principals use wondering. So one of my wonderings would be, would the committee, specifically the chair, co-chair, and other members who are available, will they be able to get a sneak preview prior to the opening, or does everyone have to wait until? Is there some way that they can create an opportunity to see what it is that they can offer that opportunity to bring back to the community, to the board, general board, in terms of their preparation?
So there is, that's not the first time we've been asked that question. So there's a couple of ways we're thinking about this. One is all of the artwork in the cabinets will be in the museum before it opens. So who are the people on the community board that have, hello, sorry.
I'm listening. My sons are talking. I'm driving.
So there is, who are the people in the community and who are the commissioners and the community board members who are part of the walkthroughs of this building before it fully opens to the public? Because before any building opens to the public, all these people do walkthroughs. So there's that where you can see the whole museum in place before the ribbon cutting. There will also be times that I will be doing open studios once a month at Pioneer Works, where I'll be fabricating the portraits in Red Hook. That is just a gift of a space that was offered to me. So one Sunday a month, which will also be on our community engagement calendar, the community could come through and see works in progress, and they can actually see process happening. There are other artworks, they're being fabricated by other companies. So like the Elders Bench is fabricated off, is going to be with a fabricator. So there will be opportunities to see, but what we should really think about is how do we have a kind of soulful walkthrough of the museum with stakeholders before it opens to the public, where you all get to experience the shape of love and wonder that has come through your residents. And I think that's something that we can plan. I think we'd have to talk to Parks about that and see like how the walkthrough schedule works. But it makes sense to me that you all would be able to see that before the whole world gets to see it even.
Well, I know that we have a CAB, a Community Advisory Board, that deals with the museum, with the Shirley Chisholm CHRC, already, but I was speaking more specifically to the artworks. I'm glad that the suggestion of the Sundays is a good thing, and the walkthrough prior to is a good thing. When you speak of the calendar, are you speaking of the calendar that Maurice Duran sends out on a monthly basis, or are you talking about your own specific calendar?
So
I don't remember seeing.
We're creating a calendar of the residency's engagements. So people in your community will know when we're going to be at a green market, when we're going to be at a jazz in the park. So what it is, a calendar specific to the engagements of the art residency. Marie's will send it out. And then it will have, like, honestly, however it gets out to the world. Some of it will be that we actually print posters and we put them in public spaces. And I'm open to any suggestions about how the calendar of residency engagements for the Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder gets in front of people's eyes.
Okay, I think just to make sure that both the chair and the co-chair of the Parks and Beautification should be on that contact list at minimum, so that they can actually turnkey that information back to that committee as well, so that they're aware. Because sometimes I do get information, but I get an abundance of information, and I don't always get a chance to speak to the chair nor the co-chair about an issue relating to the Parks and Beautification. Now our new co-chair, but prior our chair. All right. Thank you. And again, thank you. I'm sorry, Coach Antoine. Chair
Yes.
Antoine, could I just want to say a few words before, because I do have to go back to what I was
all
prior
right.
doing.
So before you go, Chair Deli, after you, I recognize Mr. Tate and Brie DeCosta. So go ahead, Mr.
No,
Deli.
I'll stick around for a couple. If they have questions for Miss Vanessa, let them go ahead. I'll have about 15 minutes. So
All right. So I recognize.
listen.
Okay, I can recognize Mr. George Tate. You have a question, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening, Vanessa. Yeah, I'm sorry it was a bit late, so I didn't get the beginning of the conversation, the presentation. However, Chair Daly asked one of the questions I had. The other one I have is regarding, I'm not clear as to like the residency that you discussed. Is that something that you're looking for volunteers from the community to help with the artwork or whatever needs to be done in the museum?
So the residency, the museum gets its inspiration from the lives and the voices and the stories of the citizens of East Flatbush. And the residency engages with the community in a couple of different ways. One is just in community conversation about what spaces are special, magical, most meaningful to people in the community. And there are opportunities for the community to do hands-on creation of artwork for the museum. So by residency, it really is me being on the ground with volunteers. If people want to stand next to me, like, I welcome volunteers. But if I'm at a farmer's market, if there are volunteers from the community who want to be there to trace elders' hands, what I will say is a couple things. One, I will be hiring a young person from the community to be a kind of residency assistant, and but also volunteers are also welcome. And I recorded a full presentation that could also be made available to you. You said that you missed the beginning. And so there's a very detailed presentation that goes through all of the engagements, where they are in the museum, and in more detail about the residency on the ground. So there's opportunities for people to do hands-on making, and then there's opportunities for people to tell a story that inspires an artwork for the museum.
Thank you, Mr. Tate, for the question. I recognize Brida Costa.
Good evening. I have a couple of comments and a question. So one suggestion I was going to offer, just based on the information you just provided regarding the residency, is whether or not you thought about maybe connecting with groups who are responsible for designing some of the costumes that are featured during the carnival celebration, because those are beautiful works of art and could even be a part, some of the materials could even be part of the quilt, which would be absolutely amazing. I'm just throwing that out there. And then also, I wondered, if we're not able to connect with you at one of the locations you're going to be at to provide suggestions, how would we get suggestions to you about some of the community members we'd like to have featured in some of the artworks? And then last question is whether or not there would be an opportunity for children to maybe get involved in some of the artwork you're going to be creating or curating.
Thank you so much for your questions and your comments. For people who are not able to connect with us on the ground during a residency engagement, they can engage with us through the Instagram page, which the contact information is on the last slide of the presentation that I just gave, or they can email and be in communication with us directly. And by communication with us directly, I mean, if you email me ideas, I'm going to write you back and say, thank you. Do you have more ideas? So it is really like a relationship that I would be excited to activate. We will have content for our Instagram page this week as we soft launch. And yes, there are opportunities for children to do hands-on creating. That is looking for possibly highest hopes is to have 2 community groups, a group of youth and a group of elders who would be the focus community that creates the quilt cabinets for the museum. I would really like those to be 2 distinct groups for durational hands-on creating. And if I can't find 2 community groups who are excited for that, I will just book space at the library, and use one of the meeting rooms at the library to hold like open community drop-in hands-on art making for the quilt cabinets. Parks has given us a really extensive list of the community groups that they engage with. We built our own list of community groups, and some of them are from the Caribbean Day parades. It's like 50 different groups that we're looking to engage with. And the materials that are used to make those costumes, like a lot of the beads, a lot of the materials that are enduring are the materials that we're looking at using for the quilt cabinet, in addition to others. So I'm thinking about glass beads. I'm thinking about paste or glass rhinestones. We wouldn't be able to use like feathers. We wouldn't be able to use things that are that deteriorate very quickly. But that is a really beautiful idea, and thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. I don't see any more hands. Last call. If there is one more question, we'll take it so we can wrap up by 8:30 for this presentation. Any question? Anyone has any last minute question before I can ask Ms. Vanessa to wrap up? I know Mr. Daly said that you will stay around. I don't know if you have any question, Mr. Daly, before I close this.
I was just thinking, I was thinking art, part of the art, would that be photography as well? Would you like take pictures and put them up, or take pictures and and draw them, make them into like a mural of actual activities? I was just thinking like we're a very strong Caribbean community. Shirley Chisholm herself is of Caribbean descent. And to reflect part of that Caribbean culture that's within. I know you mentioned the West Indian Day Parade and some of the masquerade stuff, but I'm just wondering, like, captivating people in action in doing West Indian or Caribbean based activity, and then maybe muralizing, which is not a word, but I'm making it a new word on WebEx now, but muralizing on those activities that they are doing. Is that something that you guys have thought about doing, or?
So the work that will be in the museum will be made, it will mostly be sculptural work. We won't have photographs and there won't be a mural. There are very like precise rules about what is actually considered public art and how long it has to endure. So we wouldn't be able to have like photographs in the space that endure for 40 years. Like photographs require really precise like lighting and precise like sort of situations to work in like even when you see them in museums. So we won't have photographs, and there will not be a mural that is part of this project. But what there will be is a book. So as I'm going through the residency, engaging with people, we're keeping track of every single encounter that we have. And we will create at the end of this process an actual like art book, a coffee table style art book that details the making of the Brooklyn Museum of Love and Wonder. And that book will be in libraries, it will be in schools, and there will be some books that will actually, be available at the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. We recognize that a lot of stuff happens to books. Yes, the pictures require temperature control also. So Adele put that into the chat. So there's pretty rigid parameters of what constitutes public art for New York for parks. And murals aren't even considered, I think, permanent public art. So we won't have that, but we will have everything that it takes to make the museum documented. And as we're going through, there's no way that those powerful, dynamic aesthetics of Caribbean culture could ever be excluded from this project. They might show up in ways that surprise you, but if the community, being that the community is the central engine, then there's no way that it could not be there. So that's how I can answer that. And what I also will say is, some of the artwork, we don't know what it's going to be yet. We know what it will be made of. We know that it will be made of materials that are beautiful and enduring, but some of the objects are directly created through conversation, envisioning with individuals in the community. So that is, it is yet to be seen what people say they want to see in that cabinet of wonder. Thank you so much for that note, and thank you all so much for your time. I want to acknowledge that this is a really different way to do public art where the public is central to it. And I just thank so much every stakeholder, parks, DDC, DCLA, these people who like are just figuring it out as we go along, but they're doing it with such care and consideration and focus that it's a really inspiring team. And you all are part of that. And I'm grateful, but I also know that the future will be more grateful for this care and the hard work that everyone is putting in to make this happen. So thank you all, soulfully and graciously. Thank you all.
Thank you for taking your time to do this presentation and to answer most of our questions. I am sure that some members will have questions, and I will definitely forward any question to you. As Mr. Daly stated previously, keep me on your email list, and I will also email you the contact information for our co-chair, so she can also be on the email list for this project.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Antoine. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. We will move quickly to the other portion of our meeting for tonight. Thanks, Ms. Adele. I know that some people didn't get a chance to introduce themselves, but the time is so short. Let me give you my brief report, and then we can move forward with our meeting. As the chair of this committee, I did a couple of things while we are not in session, but I did some of the visit with Ms. Turner and Ms. Williams, who initiated a walkthrough for Children Playground. They will give you a report in a few minutes. I also had a conversation with Ms. Trisha, who is now our co-chair for this committee. She will get a chance to introduce herself briefly. I registered for daffodils for September 21st, where I will pick up the daffodils. So I'm sorry if I jump to the announcement right now because we don't have a lot of time. The City of Forest Day will be on October 26th. I am in communication with partners to see how we can make that happen. And also we will have other It's My Park Day. So for this as well, I will let you know how we can continue to collaborate. Before the end of this meeting, after the presentation of Ms. Turner, I will ask you to share ideas about what you want to see happening for this new fiscal year. I know last year we had a lot of events, a lot of activities. We want to continue to do that, but I also want to hear from you. What do you want to see happening for this upcoming year? Without further ado, I will ask our co-chair to please introduce herself for people who didn't hear when she was talking briefly in the beginning of this meeting. Ms. Trisha, could you please unmute and introduce yourself? Ms. Trisha is our new, or the first co-chair for the Parks and Beautification Committee. Ms. Trisha?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Trisha Lewison. I've been on the board since 2020. Now, helping Ms. Antoine co-chair this committee. Just introducing myself.
Yes, thank you for being the co-chair for our Parks and Beautification Committee. We welcome you. We hope that we can have a nice 2 years together with a very fast-moving committee. Now I will ask Ms. Turner and Ms. Williams to please give us a presentation about the walkthrough that we did on Children Playground, what happened, and what is the next step moving forward. Ms. Turner.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How this came about was that Ms. Williams and I walk in the park every morning. And we were noticing how trash filled it was. And then there's an area by the tennis court where I had to duck down because the branches were every which way and it was just not what we wanted it to look like. So I reached out to Berlot. I reached out to Danielle Goldfarb. I reached out to Daniel of Farrah Lewis's office. And Miss Williams and Miss Simon and I walked them through the park like we walk through every morning. When I said that I was disgruntled, it was because I get the feeling that we're the stepchild. The park, Tilden Park, is the stepchild. It's not as maintained as I would like, and even though people hang out in there at night and eat their food and leave their garbage all over the floor, still in all, I don't feel that we're getting the attention we deserve. In response to our complaints and the walkthrough, Danielle got the forestry guys to come and trim they were supposed to come and trim everything that was out of order. What they did was they stayed 2 hours or less and only trimmed the branches in that area by the tennis court that I had to duck down from when I was walking through. Furthermore, they did not tie them up. They did not bag them up. They just dumped them in the areas where the worker puts the garbage for park sanitation to pick it up. And they stayed there for 4 days. That just blew my mind. Okay. There's an old water fountain and it was leaking. And the new water fountains by the brick building, on the brick building, there are two of them. One of them was clogged. I'm just not feeling that we're getting the attention that we deserve. And I feel that something needs to be done, and someone higher up the food chain needs to hear our concerns, because I felt, and Miss Williams can verify that when the forestry guys showed up, they were there to keep us quiet. In other words, they did just enough to say we were there, and then they left, like they had someplace else to go. And there were other trees and branches and shrubs that could have used a trimming that weren't touched at all. And I thought that was, I don't know, disrespectful. I'll just give you enough to keep you quiet, and then I'll go on about my business. I'm not happy with any of that, and I think it's time to go further up the food chain.
Okay.
Miss Williams, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Well, I concur with, hello, everyone. I concur with everything that Ms. Turner has identified. And Tilden Park, in my opinion, it is very neglected. But one of the things that is just so obvious is that there is very little supervision. I'm almost saying almost none, non-existent, and follow through just doesn't happen. Ms. Turner
Right.
mentioned about the limbs being cut and put outside of the playground. They weren't even tied. And if they give jobs, there should be some follow-up. When we looked today, just after we looked around the perimeter of the park, there was garbage there this morning, and understandably, people are just don't use waste receptacles to put the waste in. But it was there this morning from yesterday, and it ended up there, was still there. So it's obvious that that there is neglect, but no one is following through. And some of the issues, some of the things that we identified when we did the recent walkthrough, they had been identified before. So it's like
Yeah.
very little is being done. And there are safety issues in that park. Some of the space in between the tiles over in the play area for the children, they're large enough for a child's toe to get stuck in it. And the water fountain, Miss Turner mentioned the old water fountain. It was an old water fountain that had mold on it, the green alga, as I call it. And it was leaking and very unsightly. We have the equipment in the children area, chip paint. Something really needs to be done. And I'm so glad that we had the walkthrough. Danielle did come, but it is our concern that if something isn't done soon, that we need to go higher up the food chain, as Ms. Turner indicated. And we deserve better in our community. It is an elected park. And as I mentioned to Danielle, I passed the park over on Brooklyn Avenue and Rutland Road many times when I'm coming home. And that park is beautiful, okay? The equipment is colorful. It's just a well-kept park. And this park has been neglected for quite a while. And it's time that something moves from talk to action. And that's where we are.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Miss
And
Williams.
also,
So, I'm sorry.
And I would
No, you
like
can
to
finish,
say,
Miss
and I would
Turner.
like to say, Ms. Burlott, thank you for being supportive and coming each day to walk through there to see that. As Mr. Tate, in fact, when we walked through with Mr. Tate, as I said, we identified things when we walked through with him. Those same things exist. And Mr. Tate probably remembers that on 49th Street, on the 49th Street side of the park, there was an area where a tree had been removed, and it was supposed to have been a tree was supposed to be put in that area. That was never done, and now it's full of grass, full of weeds and grass. So it's unsightly, and it's very unfair to our community. It is.
Ricky DaCosta, I concur.
Uh,
It's quite frustrating.
yes, you can speak. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's Ricky DaCosta. I mean, I'm just gonna be quite frank. I don't even take my kids to the park over there anymore. It's just, I'm not saying it's egregious to the point where it's just, it's not. It's visibly
Exactly.
obvious. Everything's visibly obvious, and at this
Yeah.
point now, if we want something that's, I want to say this respectfully. When things are a little bit newer, it's almost like people that are used to just dumping stuff feel a little intimidated to perpetuate the unruliness and the nastiness because things are a little bit newer, and it's almost like they feel a bit ashamed. And so when things are a bit antiquated and look older, and it's just kind of like this is just what it is type of attitude, things just continue to get worse when nobody's around. And it's almost like they disregard what you say as much as you try to keep things clean. And quite frankly, the only thing that really stays clean is a tennis court, and that's because it's locked up, But
Right.
outside of that,
That is so true.
you got people that's by the benches by the tennis court, that just smoke all day and just kind of hang out there and leave all the trash. I mean, there's times where I've taken my girls bike riding and seen a bunch of trash and just, picked it up myself. And even my daughters, we just pick it up ourselves. So, whatever we could do to change the visibility in a good way, that we could have a better outcome in the park. And obviously we're going to keep advocating to, get some funds to change the perspective on how it looks. We're going to keep doing that. But, as long as people just kind of see it the way how it is now and it continues to be that way, then that unfortunately, I hate to agree with them, but it's just always going to be what it's going to be.
And see, the thing about it is, okay, financially, there's of struggle going on between the city council and the mayor, and we understand that. So to get money to replace some of the things that we don't like, to upgrade the basketball court and things of that nature, that's one thing. But daily maintenance, weeds tall as your children, Ricky. What is that? You understand?
Yeah.
Garbage. We walk 7:30 to 8. The lady doesn't come in until 8.
Yeah.
But I look out the window at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I still see that red soda cup
Yeah.
from 7:30 this morning. Okay? How do you roll up in there, whack the weed, trim the trees that I complained about, not look at the other trees that are in as dire circumstance as the one I complained about, and then go?
Yeah.
You see, there were weeds in that fenced-in area. It's supposed to be the flower area, by the those benches by the tennis court you were talking about.
Right.
The weeds were so thick, he broke out a lawnmower.
So now let me
Come
ask a
on now.
question. Because this walkthrough, we did that with council member Louis' representative, with the park manager. I was there, Miss Williams, Miss Turner, and I think 2 or 3 other people. What do you think we can do now as an action? And I also want to say that for the portion, I think someone mentioned there was an issue with security around this, the premise. I did reach out to the 67 precinct, so they are working on having some patrol around just to make sure that things are okay. But on the other side, what type of action you think that is now necessary to move the things forward? Because the park manager is already with this, because she was there at the walkthrough. What do you think we can do to have, a good outcome? Because we are complaining about it. We did this walkthrough. What do you think we need to do now? Anyone can jump in.
Well, at this point, it's almost like you need levels of jurisdiction. In other words, so you have people that work there, and it's almost like because nobody's really watching them, they don't really do much, because it's like, well, nobody's here to sort of oversee what I'm doing, so I'm just going to chill
I
inside
agree.
all day. So it kind of needs to have a level of I guess jurisdiction where somebody kind of oversees to make sure things get done. So this way people aren't, just getting paid just to sit and do nothing, do nothing. So respectively, it's just kind of having, people that are going to oversee some of the parks to make sure things kind of get done. And that would be a good start.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that definitely. We have to become the squeaky wheel, because it's obvious that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So we have to start squeaking. And if it takes Miss Lewis to make her phone calls, or Daniel to make phone calls on her behalf, and us to try, to go above Danielle, because obviously she's not kicking it the way it should be. And we just keep going up that chain of command until we get somebody that listens.
Yeah.
Because this is ridiculous. I am feeling unappreciated, and I'm feeling like I don't count, because my park, see, they have this criteria where people that throw park parties and events in their park, this isn't that kind of neighborhood. Our playground is just that. It's a playground. It's full of children all the time until the street light comes on. Then everybody disappears. But as long as the sun is up and the street light is off, there are children in that park playing. Okay? And that should count as much as the park where they have movie night on Thursday and they're having a giveaway on Friday and all this other kind of foolishness. Stop judging us by the other people's criteria. It's a playground. It needs to be repaired. Jackie and I were walking the perimeter of the asphalt area. It is so lumpy, bumpy, and cracked. We decided to walk else. We still walk around that, but we go in other directions also. It's ridiculous. And why is it such a big deal to get our weeds whacked?
Yeah.
Come on.
I'll,
As tall as your children.
I'll
Get
even
out of here.
Not
I'll,
such a
Yeah.
big deal. The fact is that there isn't any supervision and oversight. And I maintain
No,
you have
none.
two kinds of employees. One who will do what he knows has to be done, whether anybody is checking or not, and another one takes advantage. Oh, nobody's going to check. Because when you complain, Linda, about the weeds being limbs being thrown outside the park, and they were not tied up. What did you do? What happened? You were told that the workers took a picture of what had been done. You know, you cannot supervise a monitor from a desk. Okay, you've got to get up and move, and that's what's not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to be persistent. We walk through. Let's check keep monitoring it. And if nothing changes, then we need to take further action, because we as a community, it's not us as individuals, we're all part of the community. The community deserves better.
So
And
if
Yeah.
I would say that if I capture what you are saying, it's like we need to focus on supervision for those workers, because they do have
Yes,
workers
ma'am.
there.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am. That's what we're saying.
oh, so that's one thing. I want to recognize Mr. George Ted, and then after that, Miss Adele. Mr. Ted?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jackie, for remembering when we did the walkthrough.
Yes, okay.
Because I was going to bring that up, because it's been 4 years, and
Mhm.
I do a lot of walking, as you all know. Up to today, I put in 10 miles going through different parks in the community and outside of the community. And I agree with what you said. Nothing has been done at Tilden Park. Nothing, because when I walk around there, I see the same things that we saw 4 years ago. Because even the sidewalks are still not, to me, it wasn't repaired properly. You
No,
know,
no.
no. But when I walk into Marine Park, when I go into Mill Basin, when I'm walking around, those parks are neat and really manicured. So
Yeah.
I think we need to start raising more, excuse my, raise hell with the elected official so I could pass it along to the Parks Department, put some pressure on the Parks Department, because even around here, like my closest park is Patagat Park, but I prefer to go on the other side of Avenue H, which is Amersfoort Park, because it's cleaner when I walk around there. You know, like every morning you see the bags clear, they clean up and they do everything. Over here, this side of town, they don't do that.
No.
They don't do that, and I think our elected official, we need to put pressure on the elected officials so I could put pressure on the Parks Department, because if one side of their district is being
So we only
cleaned
have a couple of
properly,
minutes
why
left.
can't we do it over here? Mhm.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
we only have 8 minutes left to 9. I don't want to go past 9. I saw Miss Adele. I will ask Miss Adele to quickly and briefly give your comment on any possible next step, and then we try to wrap up, because I don't want to keep you past 9 p.m. Miss Bennett?
Well, what I was going to say is suggest to George and everybody else, we get a petition together amongst ourselves and amongst some of the members in the community, and we send it to the Parks Commissioner to let her know or this team what is going on with her workers, because they have no supervision. And we're not getting what we're paying for. That's what we need also to send something to me as well, because that mayor is too busy doing dog parks in Manhattan. and I've seen it. I go downtown Brooklyn, dog parks. Absolutely immaculate. But here, children's park should be done right. And
Yep.
the dog parks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Bennett. I want to recognize Chair Daly. Chair Daly, please unmute and give me your advice, your idea for Tilden Park.
All right. Well, let's just two things, and I want to be brief because I have to be cognizant of time. And one of the young ones started school, so I have to get him prepared. One, there's a thing called Vital Parks that's coming in our area, and it's community board specific. I just came from the borough board meeting. As a matter of fact, I left them in the middle of the presentation. So you want to find out more about what does that mean for your park, the utilization of the park, how much has been used, overused, or underused, and where the monies are going. The second thing is we have to be able to identify capital expense for the park versus funding that can be done from city council. And then that's the second thing. The other thing also has to do with community, right? And community policing, right? What does that look like? Like, they have to have the rangers come in. They have to have our own individuals literally keeping their parks. There's certain areas, and I heard Ms. Bennett speak about the dog parks, but I go to the dog parks. I don't have a dog, but I go by the dog park when my son plays baseball. I see people walking with things to curb their dogs, things that actually keep their dogs clean. That's on one side. On the other side, they have efficient workers, right? I have a major issue with Railroad Park, as some of you might know. That's my neighboring part that I utilize more so than I do Padgett Park for my events. And it's the same thing. And I've spoken to the city council, Chris Banks, and he has put money into the capital expense budget to work on the park. So one, we have to identify what these funders are, where they're coming from, where and why, and what can be easily done. I think Ms. Bennett's suggestion of a petition is a great idea, right? It's a good start. But what is on that petition? What is the survey? Do a survey within your own community board, put it on the website. These are suggestions that can be done to move forward in terms of getting things done, especially for the spring and the utilization. By the way, Miss Jackie, Miss Williams,
Yes.
I used to play so much basketball and handball at Tilden Park, and my wife still played tennis there. So I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It is
Okay.
8:57 now. Any last call, because we need to wrap up at 9. I just want to say quickly, we keep one part of the agenda was the minutes. I have some comments for the minutes because I have some comments to get back to Ms. Farah about the minutes. So I think we should leave that for now and have the approval for next meeting.
Berlot, I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, but the minutes have to be redone because it's listed as land use committee, not parks.
Yes, I
and
saw that.
beautification.
Yes, I saw both of the minutes. Yes, they have a lot of
Okay.
little typos. Yeah, so we will move that for the next meeting, and then I will say if you have any comments, just like I said, I will follow up with Ms. Farah. You can always reach out to me and let me know what needs to be fixed because we can't approve it because it was not like everything
Miss
was
Antoine,
not set.
yes.
Yes.
Also, while you're speaking to Farah Lewis' name it does not have an E at the end.
Yes,
This
it's
is
Louise. Yeah, I saw it.
Yes, I don't know if you saw that. And also, I did have a question regarding a park that's listed there. It's Redwood Redwood Park is is that Railroad Park supposed to be Railroad Park?
Yeah, it's Railroad, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, it says
I saw
Redwood
that.
Park.
Oh,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comment, you can always send that to me, and then we can I can forward that to Ms. Farah. So by the next meeting we can approve, but not now. Quick question: Are you up for any WhatsApp group or any other mean of communication? Because I realize that some people don't check their email. I don't know if you want to have a WhatsApp group or any other mean of communication beside email. Think about that and let me know, because some people told me that they don't check their email. So that's something that we need to consider. What is the quicker way for us to communicate in between meetings? For example, we have events coming, like I will pick up Daffodil on September 21st. I will, start planning for some events. We have a new co-chair. So maybe we need some way of communicating this in between meetings. So just think about that if you want us to have a WhatsApp group or any other way that we can communicate quickly in between meetings, because I don't want to wait until the next meeting to talk to you about any project. So how are we going to facilitate that? We need to talk about it. You need to think about that and let me know what you think about a WhatsApp group or any other mean of communication. It's now 9 p.m. I don't want the meeting to go over 9, but please think about any other way that you want us to communicate before we meet again. Any other last comment before I we ask for this meeting to be adjourned? Any other comment? Because it's already 9 p.m. Any quick comments?
No.
Okay.
Yes, and I agree with what you said, that we need to communicate more often, but why, if it's okay with everyone's giving out their phone number, I don't mind being a part of a group text. And that's the quickest way to communicate with each other these days. If we just create a group text of all the committee members,
Okay.
right away we could just send things out.
Okay, so think about it. I will put my cell phone number on the chat. Please reach out to me and let me know your idea about that. So for now, thank you, Mr. Tate, for your comment, Ms. Williams and Ms. Turner, and everyone else for your participation in that meeting. I will ask for a motion to adjourn that meeting. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Yes, someone was about to give the motion to adjourn?
I, George State, make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:01 p.m.
Thank you, Ms.
Turner,
Sote. Yeah, Ms. Turner, you can go ahead.
Okay, Linda Turner, I second that motion.
Thank you. Thank you all for being present for our first and memorable meeting. We will get in touch before our next meeting, and let me know if you need daffodils or anything else. Other than that, I think we are officially closing out this meeting for tonight. Thank you all.
Night.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.